Good morning. I hope you're having a fabulous day so far. Today we're going to talk about tables. We're going to talk about how much money you might be leaving on the table. Now, the first time I heard that expression, I didn't even really understand what it meant, and you might not be understanding what it means either. So today we're going to explain what it means, how it happens, and most importantly, how to avoid it happening in future. So when you own a business, your purpose is to get people to pay you to do whatever it is that you're doing, to solve whatever problem it is that your business solves. There are millions of different types of businesses. A business's purpose is to make life easier in some way by solving a problem and to get paid for doing it. So during the course of your business life, you will meet people. You will connect with people in social media, or you'll have met them in the good old days at a networking event of some kind, or you'll go to a conference and exchange business cards, something like that. And you have possibly a shoebox somewhere that contains a whole load of business cards from people that you've met, or you might just have a little pile on your desk, or some of them you might have connected with and some of them you didn't. Now imagine that all those cards were sitting on a table, right? And they have a value. Each of those cards has a value to you of some kind, a monetary value. So you decide to connect with the 3 or 4 people that you've met who you really, really thought were going to become clients or customers. So you've taken those cards off the table and you've assigned them a monetary value, whatever the value is of the product that you're selling. And whatever kind of a product it is, you need to know what that number is. So for example, if you're a coach and you charge $1,000 a month for your group coaching, you know that that client is worth, if it's a 6-month commitment, that client is potentially worth $6,000 to you. All right. If you're in a network marketing company and you're selling a product that's worth $50 and you're hoping they're going to buy that continuously, they're going to be worth about $600 a year to you. So that's the value of these business cards, right? That is how much they are worth to you, the people here on those cards, if you connect with them. So what we invariably do is we focus on the 2 or 3 people who we really think are going to join our business or become our clients or our customers or whatever it is, and we ignore the rest of them. We are literally, or actually would be a better word to use. Literally it's used a lot, but in my brain, it actually doesn't make sense, because literature is all about inventing things and imagination and creating lovely images and pictures. So actually is my word. You are actually leaving money, because if you'd followed up with these people and you'd actually closed them on something, then you would have made more money from them. Or you might have got a referral from them, which would have led to more money. Okay, so that's what it means when they say money on the table. How many people are you connecting with, some way or another, who could potentially be customers or clients or a referral source for you, that you stopped communicating with for some reason, whatever that reason is? I would bet that that every single one of you listening can think of at least 2 or 3 people that you started to communicate with, and for some reason you thought they'd lost interest, or they told you they weren't interested at that time, so you dropped them somehow. And unless you've got an email list and you're sending regular emails out to them and they ended up on your email list, you might not have any communication with them at all, which means that you've lost the money that they could potentially have generated for you. So we're going to talk about setting up a system which will stop that from happening. And we're going to talk about how you go about reconnecting with those people and getting them back in your communication cycles, whatever kind of communication cycles it might be that you're doing. And a lot more of that, obviously, has become digital, especially with things like Facebook and with emails and whatnot, than it used to be. And also particularly because we're now meeting more people in digital situations like Zoom meetings, that kind of thing, than we used to. So you probably don't actually have a physical card, but you still have a connection. Now, there are business owners, and I have to say that I am one of them, whose aim in life is not to make sure that everybody's got my business card. In fact, I no longer have a business card. I haven't had one for a couple of years at least, because me giving my information out to somebody doesn't necessarily build a communication line between us, because they might go home, put it aside, forget about it, and never follow up with me. So when I'm connecting with people, when I'm going to an event, I create a situation where that person's information is given to me. Then I have control of the communication that comes from that afterwards, right? I'm not waiting for somebody to call me. I'm being proactive and I'm calling the other person. Now, I use a digital business card system, and I've talked about this before, which is like a little mini website, and it even has, I can even attach a lead capture page where I can say, hey, what's your name? What's your number? What problem is it you're trying to solve? How can I help you? And then I'll get that information. It'll come to me as an email, and I can then follow up with that person, right? So even if I don't have all the information, even if all I've got is a phone number or an email address that I've sent my business card to, I have still captured more of their information. So capturing as much information as possible is absolutely critical. And then the next thing you need, once you've captured the person's information, is somewhere to store it, commonly called a CRM. When CRMs were first invented, they had a different purpose. They've kind of morphed into an email system now. So the CRM, customer relationship manager, that people talk about all the time is not what I mean when I say CRM. I mean contact. In other words, it includes leads as well as customers, or prospects as well as customers. Mine actually even includes my friends and my family, just to make sure that I don't miss anything. Relationship management is really, really important, because that's what it's about. It's about nurturing a relationship. So it's not just about bombarding somebody with emails, or not bombarding them with emails because you don't email people very often. It's about all sorts of different things that you might like to do. And the reason I keep my friends and my family in there is because I've got so much going on that I might not remember quickly enough that I have to send a birthday gift or a birthday card to somebody I care about who's not necessarily a business associate. And I need to be reminded to do that. So what is a CRM then to me? What do I mean when I say CRM? I mean a reminder system, calendar, alerts, something like that. A note system, somewhere where you can write down the important information about that person, and a database so that you have one place that you can look everybody up. Now, you might recognize that those things exist in a Google account, or in an Outlook account, or in whatever other account it is. You know, they're actually part of your iPhone if you're using iCloud, or your iPad if you're using iCloud. They're in there. You don't have to buy a separate system to do this, because I'm talking about nurturing relationships. I'm not talking about sending out masses of emails. Your email list is something else, and people you're nurturing can be on your email list. If you go and buy a CRM system, and there are hundreds and thousands out there, and I've tried at least 40 of them. So if you want advice on what is the best thing for you, give me a call. You can reach me through the website. The website is MyHomeBiz.TIPS. You can also email me at Andrea@MyHomeBiz.TIPS. Okay, Andrea@MyHomeBiz.TIPS. I'm quite happy to talk to you. I will brainstorm with you for free. That's not a problem. I'm happy to do that. So when you buy a system, you will probably find that you can connect things to it, like your email provider, your bulk email system, maybe a bulk text messaging system. You can add all these things and they'll track the communication that you've had with a certain person for you. If you want to buy something that's more sophisticated, they'll also track the value of clients, tell you how much money you're likely to be making, how much money you are making from clients you've already got. There can be a lot of detail, which for some people is really, really important. But to start off with, those aren't important. What is important is the communication and the connection that you have with this person. So when you put this person into your CRM, you want to be able to say, I met them at blah-de-blah networking event on such and such a date. Now, I've developed a system of shorthand so that I can get information in there quickly. And in my notes section, I always start with the date first. So it would say 2nd of February 21. Don't forget to put the year, because if you know people over a long period of time, the year will be relevant. So it would be 2nd of February 21. And then it would say met at blah-de-blah networking event. 3 kids, works from home, looking for more opportunities, or looking for a follow-up system, or looking for whatever it is. And the most important thing that you always, always, always have at the end of a conversation or any kind of a communication is your next step, right? We'll talk about how to figure out your next step, but you'll then have your next step, which goes into your calendar or into your reminder system so that it's there to remind you on the day, whatever it is that you need to do, right? So for example, you met Joe Schmo at a Tuesday coffee networking group, and he said that he can't sleep properly, and you've got this great health product that helps him sleep. So you have a conversation about it, and you say to him, hey, you know, we're in the middle of a networking event here, don't want to have a big conversation. When can we jump on a Zoom call? Or when can I call you and talk about, you know, whatever it is? Or you might be one of those people who says, hey, I want to one-on-one with everybody in this group to see how I can help. Whatever it is, book it in and put it in your calendar right there and then, as much as you possibly can. In the days when we were exchanging business cards, I used to write on the back of the business card what we'd arranged, you know, call him on Tuesday next week, or email him now, or whatever it was. And then when I got back to my desk, I would go through the cards and I would take the messages that I'd written myself to help me remember, and I would put them in my CRM system. And I was very sophisticated, because I would either carry with me a Sharpie, one of those fine ones, because some of the business cards I was given were shiny and you couldn't write on them with an ordinary pen, or I would have these miniature Post-it notes that were just a little bit smaller than a business card that I would stick on the card if I couldn't write on it with my biro. Although normally, because you make a dent, it does work. We don't have those problems now because everything's digital, but that's the point. So you get back and you put into your database all the information you have on that person. You put into your notes section why it is that you connected with them, what it is they're looking for, and you have in your calendar or your reminder system something that will alert you on that day. So on Tuesday morning, your calendar says, phone Joe Schmo, right? And then you phone Joe Schmo. Now, the next thing that I would highly recommend is that you come up with a strategy for how often and when you follow up with somebody before they've actually been closed. So this is for people that you're dripping on, that you're wooing, right? So if you think of the old days when we were teenagers and we were dating with people, there was a sort of unwritten rule about how long somebody could call you before it was they were too keen or they weren't keen enough or whatever it is. There's a pattern, and your business has the same pattern, whether you're aware of it or not. What I would recommend is that you sit down and you write it out. And it would look, for example, something like this. Within 24 hours, send an introductory email saying it was fabulous meeting you at whatever event it was. Let's have a one-to-one, or can I treat you to a coffee, or whatever it is. What are you looking for? What problems do you need to have solved? Then you wait to see if there's a response of some kind. Then after that has gone out within 24 hours of you first meeting them, you could then follow up with a phone call in 3 days to say, hey, met you the other week. I know you were talking about something or other, and I just wondered when we can organize a time to have a conversation about it, or when we can organize a one-to-one, or I noticed that you're selling something or other and I wanted more information about it. When can that happen? Sometimes somebody might have something you're interested in. You can put them in your system as well. You can also see how they're working. So you will eventually develop a pattern. You always email within 24 hours, or you always phone them with 24 hours, or you always text them within 24 hours. Then you follow up with something different, right? Then you follow up at another time later on with, again, something different. Then you put them on your email list, or maybe you put them on your email list on day one. Whatever it is that works better for you, have a system in place, because that way, you know, if you're on day 6 and you've done these steps and the person hasn't responded, you know immediately what your next step is. So you go into your contact relationship management system, you go into your calendar and you say, okay, so I haven't had a response yet. The next step in my sequence is this. And the next step in my sequence is that. And you just keep going through the steps. Now, you might think that that sounds as though you're being pushy. You're constantly reaching out to somebody. But that is why, first of all, you must use different methods of approach. Don't just email blast. Don't just make phone calls. Don't just text. Do something different. Use all the methods that there are. And when I'm saying emails, I'm talking about personal emails directly from you, but also your email list. Those are two slightly different things. Friend them on Facebook. Message them on Facebook, friend them on LinkedIn, do something slightly different, but get into a habit and a pattern, because that makes it easy. Then you don't have to remember what you've done. You don't have to double check what you've done and keep notes on all the people. In Google particularly, because that's what I use the most, there's a massive space for writing notes about a person. You can keep going and keep going. And in fact, if you're using that same email address to send your emails to them, it'll actually automatically show you all the emails that you've written, right? And some of the CRM systems are even more sophisticated, and they have that and the texting and the phone calls, because they're all joined into one great thing. But I'm giving you something, if you're starting out, which is who most of the audience is, or you haven't established something, this is the way that you build the habit. And then when you're making more money, you can buy a more sophisticated system. So develop a strategy which includes all those things. Now, as some of you may know, my strategy also includes greeting cards, right? So I will always find out when somebody's birthday is, and I will always find out how I can mail something to them. Now, that might come later in the structure, but, and again, when we used to exchange business cards, they mostly would have an office address on them of some kind. But I have very, very rarely come across anybody who's not interested in giving me their mailing address. It's very, very rare. I mean, I can count on one hand the number of times someone's actually said, not giving you that. So I send greeting cards, and depending on what the event was and how we met, if it's a particular networking group, for example, and they might be new, and we've all had a Zoom meeting recently, I might do a screenshot of the Zoom meeting, put it on a greeting card and say, it was great to meet you at such and such an event. It also helps them recognize who I am if I connect our communication to when we met. Because a lot of people are doing a lot of networking right now, especially they get friend requests on all sorts of different social media. And if you can connect them to where it was you met them, it helps a massive amount. So if you are sending someone an email within 24 hours or a text message or something, say, it was great meeting you at the blah, blah, whatever it was, yesterday or the day before yesterday, so that they know who you are, because then they'll pay more attention to your communication. So you develop a strategy over time, right? Which says that on day 1, you do this, on day 3, you do that, at the end of the first week, you do that. Now, if they come back and say, oh, yes, let's do a Zoom, do a Zoom. If you then close them, great, you've closed them. But don't be surprised to not close them, because sales statistics show, I'll say that again because I didn't say it properly, sales statistics show that you might have to reach out to someone up to 12 times before you can actually connect with them and make a sale and actually close them on something. It could be more nowadays because we're so bombarded. This statistic is a relatively old one, so it could be even more. So be prepared to keep going. Now, you've had your Zoom meeting, you've introduced your product idea, your person's gone, oh, that sounds like a lovely idea. Got too much going on right now, can't think about it, or, oh, isn't it expensive? Or I'm not interested in anything like that, can't see how it could help me. That is not the end of the conversation, right? That is where you go back to square one, and within 48 hours or 24 hours or whatever it is, you send them something that says, I really appreciated your time. Thank you so much for talking to me. And then you follow up in some way. Now, if you're using the same strategy, keep going. Send them a text message saying, I know you weren't interested, but do you know someone who has this particular problem that I can help solve? I have an affiliate program, or I pay for referrals, or I send gifts to people for referrals. Keep going, because no doesn't mean no, not ever, never again, I'm not interested in you under any circumstances. It just means I'm not ready right now for whatever it is. So again, if you go back to the dating thing, if someone really wants to date you, or you really want to date somebody, you're not going to just say no. If you invite them out and they go, no, I'm going to the prom with someone else, or no, I'm out that evening, you don't then go home and forget that person ever existed. You keep going. And it's the same in business. You keep going. You don't do it in a pushy way. You don't overdo it. And it might take you a few goes at your system to see what the perfect length of time is between contacts and what the perfect strategy is. And that's fine. That's totally okay. Keep going with that until you find a pattern that really, really works. And never, ever, ever drop communication completely with anybody. Always send them a birthday card. Always keep them on your email list, minimally, or always, send them something to acknowledge their birthday. Keep in touch with them on Facebook, always, because you never know when they might be able to introduce you to somebody that could be of value to you. Now, realtors particularly, car salesmen particularly, because you know that once you've closed that client, once you've sold that person a house, they might never need you again. In fact, if you've done the best job on the planet and you've actually got that person into their dream home, the chances are they will never, ever buy another home from you. But all their friends might. So never lose contact with people. In fact, if you are in real estate, it's a very, very good strategy to send someone a happy anniversary card every year after they bought the property from you, and just keep doing that, because either they will move one day, and if you did a good job and they're upgrading or downgrading their home, maybe they want something smaller now, all the kids have gone or something, they will go to you first because you were there the whole time. You didn't bully them, nag them, or push them. You weren't sending them emails they're not remotely interested in. Nobody wants to know anything about house prices in their area when they're happy in their home. That's of no interest to them. But a birthday card saying, I'm still thinking of you, or I remembered your birthday, or a happy anniversary, I hope you're still loving your home. How are you getting on with it? Or what have you done to it? Or did you ever build that extension you were thinking of building, or whatever it was? Did you ever get that puppy, or whatever it was that you were talking about at the time? When you show that you can remember those things, you show that you care about people, they will send everybody they know to you. And how did you remember that they were thinking of building an extension or getting a puppy? Because you wrote a note in your database, and you read that note just before you sent the birthday card, just to see, where are they? What are they talking about? In the same way, if you meet somebody and you want to connect with them and they say, actually, we're going away, we're going on a skiing trip for 2 weeks, call us when we get back. So you put in your calendar for 3 weeks, call John, skiing trip. So when you talk to him, the first thing you can say is, how was your skiing trip? You didn't say that because you're a genius, or because you're a particularly adorable person, or because you care more than anyone else. You said it because you have a system that supports you in growing your business. The system where you wrote down that he said he was going skiing. And when you're only talking to 3 potential clients, it's easy to remember what they're doing and who they are. But as the years go on and you get to know more and more people, you could find yourself in communication relatively regularly with several hundred people. And then you won't be able to remember which ones said they were going to Jamaica and which ones said they were going to do a cruise down the Rhine and visit the castles, right? But the fact that you wrote it down in shorthand, in your little private way, so that you can remember what it was that you said, that makes you look like a genius who really, really cares about people, which of course is exactly what you are. It's just that usually in the stress of everything we've got going on, the amount of information that is bombarded at us, whether we want it or not, on a consistent basis, these things don't stick in our minds. So a system that helps those things stick in our minds is a really good system to have. It's essential, in my view, whether you're sending cards or using digital business cards or not. That doesn't matter. That's immaterial. Whether you're buying a CRM system with all the bells and whistles, that's immaterial. As long as you're tracking the people you're talking to, you keep note of what they're doing. That money that you used to leave on the table is now finding its way into your pocket, because that person will become valuable. And it might not be in the way you think. They might introduce you to somebody who becomes a client. They might introduce you to another product that you can be selling or promoting that will help your business grow. They might introduce you to someone else who has a business that you can become involved in, or a training course that you didn't even know that you could do, which is going to skyrocket your business to another level. Happened to me this very morning. I had a meeting with somebody who said, "Oh, are you doing so-and-so? Did you know about this?" And I said, "No." And she said, "Oh, I'm teaching that next week as part of the training that I'm doing. Would you like to, participate in my course?" It's like, heck yes, because I'm always wanting to learn new stuff. Not only so that I can use it myself, but so that I can also teach it to other people, so that I'm useful to them and I'm helping them solve their problems. So there you go. That was actually quite a lot of information today. How long did I talk for? 32 minutes. My goodness. So just to recap, you leave money on the table when you do not communicate with people. That means there's money that you could have made by selling something or promoting something or whatever it is that you're doing, providing the service that it is, solving the problem that you didn't, because you didn't communicate with that person. The reason you didn't communicate with that person was because you don't have a simple system in place that made it easy to do. Consequently, it became easy to not do because your attention went to the 2 or 3 people you think are really hot leads, which is right, it should. But if you don't capture the others as well somehow, you'll never turn those into leads for sure, or partners, or whatever it is, right? And you never know what could happen. So keep their information somewhere, keep in communication with them consistently, not often, but consistently. It could be once or twice a year. That could be all it is. And keep track of the information they give you so that you can build on it and you can be a friend to them in whatever way it is that you think is best, that would work best for your business. If that all seems very overwhelming, but kind of interesting, and you'd like more information, reach out to me for a brainstorming session, or just email me. Tell me what you're thinking. We can get on the phone for 10 minutes. It doesn't have to be a big deal, but you will be amazed at how simple life becomes when you set up a system that's for you. Your stress goes. Every morning when you wake up, you look at your calendar or whatever reminder system it is that you've got, and today I have to call blah, 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 and blah, or I have to Zoom with that person, or I've got to send a text message to that person. It makes it really, really easy. And you know what people will say about you? They'll say, "I really appreciate your professional follow-up. I really appreciate the fact that you called me when you said you would, or that you bothered to follow up with me at all." That's the kind of thing people say to me. So I know it's true. People in all sorts of different fields. Here's my puppy. See, he's agreeing with me. She's agreeing with me. So that's what I recommend. That is my sermon for today over. Does anyone have any questions? Let's have a look here. Right. Yes. What to say to people that you haven't communicated with for a long time. It doesn't really matter. Nowadays, it's very, very simple to reach out on social media with people that you haven't connected with for a long time. So if you've found that box of business cards that was underneath your desk, covered in dust, and you haven't even thought about the people in there for at least 2 years, just go through and look for them on social media. And you can also always start a little conversation with them if they're, you can't figure out what they're doing or who they are. And you can say, oh, we met a couple of years ago, just came across your card. Are you still doing blah-de-blah business? Or whatever it is, it doesn't really matter. Or you can comment on a picture they've got and then get to a conversation through there. If you're not, okay, that should answer that question. Again, that's something that we can do together. If we brainstorm, we can look at ways of rekindling conversations. And yes, there will be people sometimes who will say, I'm sorry, no, I don't do that anymore. Or I'm retired, I'm not interested in anything. Fine. But more people will be appreciative of you reaching out than won't be. That's for sure. Always that way. So another question, what's the best way to ask for a referral if that person doesn't want to or isn't able to work with me? You say, do you know someone who, whatever the problem is, right? So say, for example, let's go back to real estate. You have a property on the market and you reached out to a client and said, or a potential client and said, is this something you're looking for? And they're like, oh no, sorry, I bought a house last week. You go, great. I hope you absolutely love it. Where is it? Is it perfect? Have them talking about it. Break the ice. Right? What did you particularly love about the house that you just bought? Have you moved in yet? That kind of thing. And then say, okay, I'm really, really glad you found what you were looking for. Do you know someone else who's looking for a property that I might be able to help? It's easy. What are they going to say? No, I don't, which is fine. They're not going to think, oh, how awful. How could you dare ask me such a question? Never happens. They'll go, yeah, no, or I don't know, I'll think about it. Or give me your card, and if I ever, give me your information. If I ever do, I'll let them know. Then you can continue to follow up with them. Now, the next thing, this is a brilliant question, actually, and it was the one that I had as well. How do I continue to communicate with somebody, especially when they're not being very responsive, without feeling as though I'm pushing too hard or I'm being annoying or I'm being overbearing? So that goes back to what it is you're communicating with them about. For example, if your communication is consistently, you should buy my product. Why didn't you buy my product? You've got to buy my product. Oh, we do them in blue now. My product is now this. This has happened with my product. I need you to buy my product. People are going to get very upset with you very fast. Don't do it that way. If when you reach out to somebody, you say, oh, happy birthday, or, oh, that was a funny thing you did on Facebook, or, oh, LinkedIn texted me to let me know that you've just changed careers. Congratulations on your new job. None of that is ever going to offend anybody. Think of communication with somebody like a bank account, right? You go to the bank and you open a bank account. You cannot take anything out of that bank account on the first day because there isn't anything in there, right? You work, you put money in. You work, you put money in. You do some more work, you put money in. It's your birthday. Somebody gives you some money, you put it in. Then you can go to your bank account and say, okay, I need some money to come out so that I can do this. Relationships are the same. You put something in, you congratulate somebody, you wish them a happy birthday, you Ask them how their dad was, because last week you saw on Facebook that they're whatever, that they had an accident or they weren't feeling well or whatever it is. Send a quick message. Oh, your dad wasn't well last week. Is he doing better? Or whatever it is. Your kid graduated, your car broke down, did you get it fixed? Or, oh, my car broke down. I saw yours did last week. Where did you get yours fixed? Because I'm looking for someone who's reliable. Or you ask them little questions like that too. Do you know someone who could come and mow my lawn for me, or something like that if they're local? Communicate about things that aren't necessarily business all the time. Then you can go back to them and say, hey, I know you said you didn't want my product, but I now have it in blue. Is that of interest to you? And you never know. 6 months have passed, or 6 weeks have passed, or 6 days have passed. They've had time to think. You've communicated with them. You've shown them that you're not just a salesperson who's out to get their money on selling them a product. You're actually a really kind person. So they're going to say, no, I don't even want a blue one. But actually, do you have them in green? Or actually, my neighbor might want something like that. And that's how it goes. And it's also nice, actually. It's nice to communicate with people and to have them respond. It's nice to send out birthday cards and have people send me messages saying, oh, I love the birthday card, or how amazing that you had my photos in that birthday card. I loved it. Or that was a very clever video you sent with your digital business card. Tell me more about this. That's great. That feels good. So, you're elevating yourself to a feeling good place. And isn't that what business is about? Isn't that why you're in it? So that you can be doing something that has a positive effect on people? That's the answer to that question, how not to be annoying and not to be overbearing and not to come across too salesy. Don't always talk about business. As a golden rule, give to them 3 times before you try to get back from them. So if you're communicating with them for a year, 3 months you give, on month 4, you take. 5, 6, 7 you give, on month 8 you take. Okay? Or do it less. Communicate with them every 2 months and ask them twice a year about the product or for a referral or something like that. That answers that question. Okay, that's it. I'm done. 45 minutes nearly. I wish you a fabulous week. We are actually talking to Tom next week. He's a friend of mine. We're also business partners, and he also does lots of exciting things that I don't do, running a business from home in an area that I have nothing to do with, that he's going to be telling you about. So that's something else I try to do, introduce you to people who do things that I don't do, so that you can find out about other things that are available and other ways that people are building their businesses. So if you want to be interviewed by us, reach out to me, Andrea at this is wonky, backwards, Andrea at MyHomeBiz.TIPS, and let me know if you've got a story to share with our audience. Bye-bye. I will see you next week. Have a great time, and don't forget to reach out if you've got questions. Namaste.